All right. How's it going? It's Mr. Deadman of the Deadman Tome podcast. And, of course, you have your co-host, SK. How's it going, SK?
You know what? I still have all my hands and feet, so I'm doing good.
Hey, doing great, huh?
Yeah.
That's good to hear, man. That's good to hear.
Even though I did not keep him inside the car at all times.
Okay.
I got away with one.
Oh, man. We have an amazing show planned right now. Our guest tonight, Dave Bray. How's it going?
I'm DB tonight. It's just DB.
Just DB.
Can you let the music jam just for a little bit longer so I can let me get down on it?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, crank that.
You want it louder?
Yeah.
You like the song, huh?
Yeah, no, that's great, dude.
Thank you.
You need a screamer track over top of that. Send that sucker to me. I was going to line this thing out for you, man.
Oh, damn. Certainly, man. Certainly. I love that. That's great. Hell of a show planned tonight, okay? But a few announcements real fast. One, the first Deadman's Tome comic, Dead Oculix. We need to get that out there. Let me put it up on the screen right here. There we go. All right, so as an Indiegogo campaign, raising funds to get this comic up and going. I gotta need your help to do so. Dead Oculix needs to happen. Let's make it happen. It's the guy who's doing it, the guy who's doing the art and the story behind it, Damascus Mintzmeyer. He's been doing pretty much all the covers for Deadman's Tome as of late. Very talented guy, as you can see the artwork on the screen. Yeah, he doesn't play around. Inked, ink colored. Looks very professional. Good quality stuff. The other announcement I have is, man, you know what? If you want to help support the show, just go to patreon.com/deadmanstome. Contribute anything you can. And you get access to bonus shows and pretty much access to all the material that Deadman's Tome puts out there. So look forward to that. That's pretty much it. SK, you got anything?
Yeah, but the doctor says if I just take the antibiotics every day for 2 weeks, it'll be fine.
The burning will stop.
Yeah.
The burning will stop, but does it really ever go away?
You get used to it.
Okay. I mean, not that I was asking for myself or anything. All right. So, Dave Bray, for those who don't know, DB, for those who don't know who you are you? What do you do?
DB USA. Well, I mean, first off, this is just a cool podcast because a lot of the stuff I end up doing is usually along the either political or military or veteran, just very, very outside of my circle, jumping in with you guys, and I'm just jacked to be here because, like I said, I'm read in on my alien conspiracy theories, my, the dark stuff out there as well. So I just appreciate you guys having me on. But so for your listeners, my name is Dave Bray. I go by Dave Bray. Back to the music again. All right, let's do it.
Oh no, the music's just in the background. I can mute.
Oh, okay.
I can bring it up
okay.
just a little bit more. There you go.
Take it down. So anyway, my name's Dave Bray. I go by Dave Bray USA on the social media circus. I'm known as the rock and roll patriot. I'm kind of like a younger Ted Nugent, better looking and a little better music writer. But no, long story short is I'm a United States Navy Marine Corps veteran. I got out. I was lead singer of the band Madison Rising when we came out with all the, the national anthem, Star Spangled Banner. Got all that hoopla going. And now I'm on my own. I do Dave Bray USA, and I'm a touring musician. I continue doing a lot of stuff. I got a couple young kids now, so I'm just trying to be an adult, you know what I mean, and do music and, still continue with my mission, which is faith, patriotism, and bringing the people of this country together instead of ripping us apart. We got politics and news just shredding our citizenry, and I wanted to use music and a little bit some of the old school songs and stuff like that to bring people together. So that's kind of what I do.
Man, I like that. And that's something we definitely need.
Old school songs, huh? Like what? Yankee Doodle Dandy?
Yeah. Yankee Doodle. Beep, yeah, no. So, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's going to be what I'm going to scream over the top of your theme music.
I would like that. That would be great.
Do it.
So, no, like I do like these heavy sort of orchestrated versions of Amazing Grace, God Bless America, The Star Spangled Banner. And the best way to describe my music is very cinematic. So my latest album is called Music on a Mission, and I narrate it. So I speak and talk to you about the songs and the whole way through. So just like for instance, Amazing Grace. So I talk about the history of John Newton being a slave trader, as well as being a man who found God and basically turned his life around, and now eventually turned into an abolitionist and a man of the church. So like anybody's life can be turned around by faith. And I think that's still a pretty cool thing for the humankind to know. So that is one of the reasons that I gravitate towards that, is because, you know, I hear so many times, especially in the veteran military community, law enforcement, you know, I'm in a dark place. I'm in this dark place. And we'll talk about this dark place that, you know, later in the program. But, you know, I'm on this road by myself. I can't seem to get out. But it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter where you are in your life. I don't care how dark you are. You know, there are guys that are doing life in prison that have found faith or some form of deity that they have faith in, that knows that they are now being guided by a higher power. And I just dig that. So that's kind of the essence of where John Newton's story was inspiring to me. He's a slave trader, you know what I mean? He's like the worst of the worst when it came down to humanity, and then trapped in a storm, begs for his cargo, all the slaves on his ship to be saved, him to be saved, to make it through this tempest, this storm. And then he's given rite of passage, you know, by the skies opening up and allowing his ship to pass. And he's like, I'm done, I'm out. He turns in his captain's papers, and he rolls to the church and says, let's do this for the rest of my life, and you win against slavery. I just thought, again, somebody that deep rooted in the cause can turn around and at the drop of a hat.
I mean, really, one little miracle is all it takes.
That's it, man. You'd be surprised when the knife is at your neck how quickly you will beg for forgiveness, right?
Yeah, that's true, man. That does happen.
But no, it's one of those things that anybody's life can be turned around. And I'm, like I said, with the law enforcement community and the veteran military suicides, I wanted to inspire, and I wanted to let people know that it's out there. That's all.
Man, I'm enjoying this so far. I mean, I'm liking this. I want to get deep into, especially how faith plays into your music as well. Not that I've said this before, I'm a deacon at a church as well. And I think that stuff is important. But to the chat, I don't see you getting too religious here, but if you have questions, feel free to chime in. Let me just say this too, for those listening right now. I know Deadman Tome has a huge focus on horror and writing, right? But we do try to open the show for other creative minds, like we've done that before. Dave Bray.
How do you think I got here?
Right? SK, he wrote a self-help book, how to improve your life. Yeah, I mean, we had YouTubers, had lawyers, have other musicians on the show. So I think,
is it called like Wizard Soup for the Soul, or like something dark? Is it, like Witch's Stew for the Soul? No.
That would have been a good one.
All right, well,
that is a good title.
Year we'll release that.
It is yeah. Witch's Brew for the Soul.
You write that down, aren't you?
Hey, Jesse, there's your next anthology title.
I like that. I'm gonna have to write that one down. So,
oh man, this is you guys are just this is. I knew this was just harvesting information from me the whole time. I knew I should.
Yeah, that's all it is. Oh shit, he's gonna hit us with an invoice after all this.
Right. I'm keeping track. I'm recording all
right, so let me ask you, what came first, the music or the Navy, the U.S. Marine Corps?
Well, so in high school, I didn't really know that I could. I mean, I was in church choirs, and even in preschool, I grew up in England. So if you can imagine, like old timey 1970s, preschool in England, you actually had to get dressed in a little uniform, wear a little, button hat, and the whole deal. Very North Yorkshire. You went to a church for preschool, and you had to sing hymns, and you did all this stuff. Anyway, long story short, that's where I started singing, and then I came to America with my dad. My dad was a government worker, so we, moved from country to country. We came over here and got involved with the church, and then I got involved in school choirs. Low budget acts, nothing major. You know what I mean? We weren't that awesome. I realized that I had a lot of power in my voice that a lot of kids my age didn't really have, and there was a lot of control there too. So it wasn't just kind of mumbling the hymns. I was really singing them because I came from this old, sort of, even as a young kid, you got slapped on the wrist if you didn't sing out. That was kind of the deal. Very you can't have your pudding if you don't sing the songs, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
very Pink Floyd back in the day, if you can picture that. So yeah, so it was one of those things where I even got in the youth choir at church, and I was kind of out singing and these other kids in youth choir, just louder,
Mm-hmm.
And I think I remember either Charlie Daniels or Meatloaf having the same problem. Like, when he went to go sing at church, people would be turning around. He'd be in the way back. And very similar to me, I always sang very, very loud. So that ended up transposing into rock music. I loved Metallica and like Pearl Jam and that Nirvana grunge era. And I really got into just playing that, first off, because it was easy to play on guitar. And then second off, I could sing it, right? So that transpired into starting a rock band. And then that was the high school rock band. We were awesome. So that turned into, we're going to go make it big time. But I had already signed up for the Navy. So I joined the Navy right after high school. And that dream got put on hold for about 4 years. So then the day that I got out of the military.
Okay, so why did you go into the military?
All right, so dad was Navy, right? Dad was an old Navy guy. My brother was Navy enlisted. It was not expected, but I grew up in a very small town, about 300 or 400 people. And it seemed like the cheapest ticket out of town, as well as I wanted to do something that, when you live in a small town,
see the world, right?
Yeah, all that, but
that's how the Navy sells it.
Right. But when you're in a small town, there's going away parties for guys who join the military. Very old timey kind of small town. You know what I mean? So I wanted that. I wanted that going away party, and I wanted to serve my country, and I wanted people to know what I was doing, and that was part of it as well. I wanted that pat on the back, attaboy, and I did it. I wanted to serve my country. Even as a young kid, I can remember, crawling around playing Navy SEAL, and that's what I wanted to do.
That's awesome, man.
So what did you do in the Navy?
So I went in as a corpsman. So you're a quote unquote hospitalman, because the year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you're it's horrible. You're changing bedpans. You're a nurse.
Oh god.
Yeah. And that was not for me. So I went straight to emergency room, EMT, and I worked my way up through the ranks of the ambulance crews, and then from there, I crossed over into what they call the FMF side, Fleet Marine side, which is you go to another boot camp style, reshape you, reform you into being a Marine, and you go to what's called Field Medical Service School, or it's now called Field Medical Training Battalion, and you go through this sort of rigorous course of learning combat medicine and learning the structure of the Marine Corps and how that all works. And then I got out of that, and I went straight to the sniper teams out of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
Oh man!
So you went from patching up holes to making holes.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun.
Which, hey, by the way, do you mind if we play some of your music on the show? I should have asked you earlier, but do you mind? I mean,
no, you can. Okay. But man, I still want to talk about all.
No. It'll be playing in the background, kind of quietly.
Okay.
Quietly.
Okay,
so
cool.
we have a question in the chat, and it's from Patty. Asks, "Where was your most memorable place you went in the Navy?"
So we ended up back in, 96, 97, Operation Assured Response was going down, and it was basically a civil war around in Liberia, Africa. So we went to, I mean, it's still going on, you know what I mean? It was the, Charlie Hebdo circus and all those guys. And it was all like Blood Diamond and who had the most guns related. It was a Civil War type thing, but it was flaring up out around the embassy of Monrovia, Liberia. And we had our American embassy there. Mm-hmm. And as the Civil War crept closer and closer, the embassy is backed up against the coast. So we didn't want to put that embassy in danger and that sovereign soil in danger. So they basically flooded it with Marines, and the sniper teams and were the first guys to kind of go and get on the rooftops and make sure the perimeters were secure and that kind of stuff. So that was where, we spent most of the time that I served overseas was in Africa. So I got really used to like heading back and forth to Lungi, which was the airfield. Then we went back and forth to Dakar, transporting refugees, that kind of stuff. So some of it was humanitarian aid, and then some of it was show of force.
Okay. But man, I imagine you've seen a lot through your experience, and I mean, how has that affected your music? I mean, how's that affected you as well?
Yeah, I think you're a sponge, right? So as an artist, you need a release. And I think, again, we get back to this, this dark place that a lot of these guys, military, first responder, fire, police, they don't have an outlet. They don't have anything or anywhere to put their demons. And I used music for a long, long time, even when I was, early serving, and even an early writer in my early 20s, and even in my teens with my first band. It was some of the stuff was pretty dark, but it was a place to put a lot of anger and a lot of frustrations and a lot of those, like I said, those things that sort of haunt you when you close your eyes at night. And we can talk about that too, with the Hat Man and everything.
We're kind of there. Like, one thing I want to ask you, sometimes we do get dark on the show every now and then, but I mean, do you want to, I don't know if you want to share like one of the darkest things you've seen. I don't know if you want to, it's up to you.
Well, I think, when it comes to, there's obviously like reality dark, and, you're working with humans and you're trying to save lives. And in the emergency medicine field, like our nurses, they're seeing worse stuff every single day. I mean, just think about the mass casualties just over this weekend. That stuff is so incredibly insane. And what those guys don't understand, or what a lot of people, or we as a nation don't understand, is the ripple effect that has through our communities, what it has through our first responder communities, and what it has throughout our civil communities. In the military, you're trained for that. You're trained for mass cas. You're trained for seeing all this nasty blood, guts, and gore. And it sort of is one of those, hazards of the job. But in civilian life, it's not one of those things that anybody expects. But what we're realizing more and more is that, and this is something I preach on, we've lost more first responders in the line of duty on our own soil, more police officers on our own soil, upholding the law, just trying to give a traffic ticket, getting gunned down innocently, than we have lost people fighting the war on terror overseas. We're losing more men in blue than we are in camouflage, if that makes sense. So I try to explain to people, the war is here. It's in our country. The enemy is among us. He walks among us. He's, it could be the guy on the other. Yeah, it is us. The enemy is now, and the Constitution is written for this. And the oaths that we swear are written for this. We are sworn to uphold that Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We are now to that level of domestic violence and terror and enemy that we need to be way more vigilant, and we need to be a little bit more understanding of the job that our law enforcement has. And as civilians, we need to be doing a lot more to stay vigilant and protect them as well. So, I mean, like I said, I could spin out of control a little bit on that, but I don't want to go too far.
Well, it's a fair point. I mean, you can't, denigrate the police, with one breath and then calling them to save your ass with the next. That doesn't make any sense. They might not show up quite so speedily if they are feeling unsafe.
Well, the law is an easy target. It's easy to take a video of a guy who's, grabbing a hold of a 60-year-old woman who's wasted 3 hours of his time playing games and putting her down on the ground and tasing her. And like, I don't know if you've seen that video, but in the same regard, then you see a video of like 40 people ganging up on cops, squirting them with, hoses and with squirt guns and that kind of stuff. Listen, in foreign countries, you'll have people filling squirt guns with acid and burning people's faces and eyes out. Yeah. So it's like, it's not really funny. You know what I mean? Our law enforcement goes out there every single day to earn a paycheck. It's not really funny to, take a poke at them or even give them a hard time. It's like, they won't give you a hard time, and you won't end up in jail if you A, abide the law, and B, listen to what they say. The problem is we have a generation of people that have never been told what to say and have never been given any type of discipline behind not doing what somebody tells them to do, that has the actual authority to tell you to do what needs to be done.
Oh, so man, I agree with that. Like,
we have teachers that can't uphold their laws and their rules in school because they're afraid that they'll lose their jobs. We have now law enforcement who are afraid to stand by the rules of engagement because the rules of engagement are threatening of their lives and they could lose their jobs or do time in jail. We have the same thing in our military. We've been legislated into these highly powerful pacifists, and it's a dangerous situation for the sheepdog who need to go out and do the work every day and protect us.
Yeah, it's like they want to have sanitary, war, where
Yeah, it's
where
not a
you
clean.
you only hurt the ones you hate.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I mean, where you're only killing the exactly the people you mean to kill and nobody else.
Yeah.
Right.
Where does that exist? What war does that exist, right?
Yeah.
Well,
What video game is that on? I don't see it.
Yeah.
yeah, but that's the way they're tying up the military. They're not trying to win. They're trying to not look bad on TV.
Mm.
The politicians is what I'm saying.
Well, we have Extortion 17, the anniversary of Extortion 17, coming up in a couple days. It was the largest loss of special operations warrior lives. I believe we lost, I want to say, 31.
Extortion 17.
Yeah. It was a recovery effort, and it was a gunship that they saw a younger gentleman or kid, and they knew that he had a weapon, and they asked to take him out, and they said, do not fire kind of unless fired upon. The same crap you hear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was filled with special operators, and the amount of resources and training and lives and souls that were on that vessel and shot down.
Wait.
They were never given the opportunity. They were never given the opportunity to protect themselves because of the rules of engagement, and that's an issue. That's a problem.
So SK, are you aware of Extortion 17? Was it Extortion or Extraction? Extraction 17, right?
That was Extortion 17.
Extortion 17. Okay. So there's one guy. They were going after one kid.
Well, yeah. Well, the story is there was a shooter or an assailant or a threat with an RPG, and the threat basically, I don't remember if they took one shot or the whole entire story, but the issue is rules of engagement prevented them from taking the appropriate action for them to land a craft in a hot LZ, and because of that rule of engagement, basically, long story short, is we lost 31 guys.
Cost more lives.
All of them Navy SEAL or special operator, combat control guys, Delta, UDT. You know what I mean? The upper tier of war fighters.
The top of the top.
Yeah, Dev Gru. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, anyway, yeah. So that's kind of that as far as that is concerned.
Well, the fact that they have to call in and ask in a combat situation is ridiculous.
Yeah, right. They call the supervisor. That's kind of messed up.
And all I see every time I hear, all I see is that guy sitting back at the talk, and like even in like in Top Gun, the guy's got the cup of coffee, he's sweating it out, listening on it. What'd he say? They need what? More backup? Hey, Maverick's down. Sorry about that. He can't fly right now. That's the crap that ticks me off. Rules of engagement. Okay, like there are rules to war. Like any other enemy is fighting with rules other than us, right? So It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, the other guys don't care. But now the thing about your music that I definitely enjoy is that it has a positive message, and I mean, like, how do you maintain that? Like, how do you keep that going? Especially after seeing what you've going through your experience and knowing what's going on around us. Like you mentioned, we have politics tearing this country apart, the media tearing this country apart. How do you put out that positive message, and how do you maintain it?
Well, I think let's be honest. I mean, not everything I write in my basement or in my home is positive. Because I'm a writer, stuff comes to mind and I write it down. So as a poet or as a songwriter, I never know what or where it's going to go. I kind of just let the pen guide. So if I'm angry about something, oftentimes I will sit for 5-10 minutes and write, 3 or 4 sheets of paper out, go back and read it. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I actually said that. That is really dark and horrible, right? Like this is talking
Better
about.
Send that to Jesse.
Yeah. It's really not good. Like I'm talking about I'm talking about doing horrible things to people I really don't like, but it's,
like death
unfortunately.
Metal? Do you have some death metal songs?
Yeah. It might be an anti-Hillary death metal, but whatever. The point is that
I'll be game for that.
Like I said, I get angry when I see things that are absolutely out of our control and people getting away with it. For we go back to these situations of our law enforcement or our military being in situations. Go to Benghazi, you know, and Hillary and not wanting to get out of bed or not wanting to, you know, you hold a position, a very, very high position in our government, and you got guys on the ground who are in a battle, and you're not helping them or supporting them in any way. And
well, she probably didn't have her walker. See, that's the problem.
Right.
She probably didn't have her walker.
My guess is she was just drunk, passed out, or pilled up, or whatever. But
probably
it's still without excuse, and it doesn't. You know, that's one thing I feel like you don't have to worry about. And with the current situation, I feel like there's always going to be somebody awake and intellectually
maybe she was
ready.
busy planning some suicides.
Yeah. We better watch what we say, or else we're going to be next.
Which, by the way, how is Jeff Epstein still alive? Oh, Jesus.
Barely.
He's hanging out. He's with Snowden. He's like, I don't care where he is. Just send me to where Snowden is. I'll be there.
Oh, man. Okay, before we get too carried away here, what is the dark place that you're talking about? You mentioned before the dark place.
Well, I mean, again, I think with the amount of drugs and alcohol, let's go drugs first. Big pharmaceutical. I mean, they're basically legalizing every street drug you can possibly legalize. Adderall is legal, meth, your CBDs and stuff with the high THC. I mean, that's a different story, but you know, your speeds, your cocaines, your heroines are all being put into pill form and given to patients. And I think a lot of people end up, you know, using these because they're prescribed by somebody who goes to school for 8, plus years and maybe worked on you or gave you surgery or is telling you for your back pain that's never going to go away, you have surgery or you take these pills. And the pill option is one that it's a highway to that dark place. I've had multiple surgeries and I've ridden that train down the street as far as it'll go. And you know, I was the guy on the couch that, you know, could have very easily taken a few extra and just quit breathing, because I mean, there were times where my wife would be like, Dave, you need to get up and move around. You're breathing like once every minute. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You know what? I've gone too far. Now you add a few drinks to some of that stuff and it's a cocktail. It's a recipe for death.
Is.
And it's it. You're done.
And it's taking a lot of lives, man.
Yeah, too many. But then there are the people that ride it in a way that's they become functional with it. And every second that they're not, inebriated or using or have it in their system is a glimpse of what reality is. And all of a sudden reality becomes this very, very difficult thing to be able to wrap your mind around, wrap your heart around, wrap your soul around, and to be able to deal with. And I think what happens is they get a glimpse of reality, post a few weeks or a few months of using these pills and drinking or whatever their, cocktail of choice is, or not of choice, prescribed cocktail, I should say. And then they realize, man, reality really isn't what I thought it was, or their skewed perceptions are changed, or their love buttons don't work anymore, or their heart doesn't work to love their family or their friends or see how blessed they are. And again, that's one of those things where, sometimes God will step in, or the higher power, the universe steps in and shakes you and says, hey, I got more work for you to do. Or, sometimes he doesn't. And that's just the nature of that beast. When I talk about the dark force or whatever you want to call it, that has been sort of plaguing me. I can't believe you guys have never heard of this, because this is the part that I really wanted to talk about, because I was hoping somebody out there on your show or your listeners would understand or have known what sleep paralysis is, or the Hat Man. There's a guy called the Hat Man that shows up.
I know what sleep paralysis
is.
Okay.
All right. So we have,
and
paralysis.
Okay. Yeah. It's also what's behind a lot of abduction, so-called alien abduction. Well, they call it alien abductions, right? And demonic visitations and all these kinds of things happen when you get into a lucid dream state while you're in sleep paralysis,
right?
Where you're supposed to be completely out of it during that. But if you start to wake up a little bit, which is what you need to get into lucid dreaming, and then your body is literally paralyzed, and you don't know why, because you've been asleep, and and the brain tries to explain that to itself through crazy ass dreams.
Well, I'm here to tell you that.
But you saw a Hat Man. You see the Hat Man.
It's no dream. Yeah, it is no dream. It is no joke. It is absolutely 100%. And you, if anybody that has ever, I pray I find a few other people, because I know a friend of mine. Her name is Heidi Hollis. You should have her on her show.
Okay.
Heidi is she actually wrote a piece or like a short book or something about the Hat Man, and all over so I'm not like some crazy kook. So the story goes like the story it's funny.
I'm pretty open-minded. Tell me more. And also, I'm looking at this book too. I want to check into this book, the Hat Man.
So people all over the world, like for centuries, have seen this Hat Man.
Okay.
And he basically is a shadowy figure in all black. But he wears a flat brimmed. The closest I can really put it is like the black Amish man hat. It's very old world, old country, black flat brimmed hat that comes out from the side of his head, right? So people are saying that this is Old Scratch, this is the Reaper, this is that. I'm here to tell you it's the Hat Man, and I know for a fact because I was face to face with this thing. And I heard the door. I was staying in the Union League Club in New York City, which is one of those old buildings in New York that's, I don't know, a couple 100 years old. And, it's creaky floorboards, the whole 9 yards, small rooms. Looks like your grandma's house. It doesn't look like a La Quinta. It's like you're literally walking into like your grandma's, guest bedroom.
Okay.
And it's that kind of hotel, more bed and breakfast in New York, old time, old world, rich mahogany, tiger oak, that kind of stuff. So think about that. So I'm laying there in bed. It's just a little single bed in this room that's probably too small. I could probably touch the door to the bathroom if I pointed my toe off. I'm 6'2", so it's a very small room. Anyway, I hear a creak outside of my door, and I kind of roll over. Or I think I roll over. And I hear somebody rustling in the lock, and I'm trying to scream, say, hey, there's, somebody in here. And I realize I can't scream. Okay. So that's your first indication that you're in one of these modes or one of these lucid dreaming type things, situation where you can't audibly hear yourself. Although you're screaming at the top of your lungs, you can't audibly hear yourself. So whatever this was figures out a way to get the door open. And the door swings open, and there stands this. I mean, I could hear the door. I could hear the footsteps, and he's wheeling a cart, which was a bottle
room
of
service.
Yeah, but it was not. It's just a 2-wheel cart. He's wheeling a gas bottle back behind him.
Oh.
And he's got
laughing gas or like
a laughing gas bottle. Yes, exactly.
See, I was going for no country for old men.
Yeah, kind of like that's it. Same deal. So, and he puts this thing over my face, and he keeps leaning back and forth and putting like the drops of whatever the ether or whatever he was giving me, this gas. And I was sitting there, and I was just like, I am going to kill you as soon as I get my hands on you. I'm going to kill you. And then all of a sudden he like snapped as soon as I started getting very, very violent and angry, like to the point where I knew it was either life or death. I wanted to kill this thing that was doing this to me. As soon as I got that angry, he like snapped into my face and eyeballed me face to face.
Oh shit.
And he was wearing like a doctor's mask over the front of his face. So he wasn't affected by like an old school cloth doctor's mask. And his eyes looked like he was wearing sunglasses, like a pair of like Oakley shooters almost, So he's under this hat, and he just goes eyeball to eyeball with me, and I'm staring at 2 images of myself in his eyes, and my eyeballs are just going back and forth in his eyes. That's what I'm seeing. And it was at that point where I was like, okay, it's got to be faith then. So I went straight to, I just said, Jesus Christ, please help me right now. I don't know where you are in this universe. Help me. And this light came into the room and made this entity, this thing, this doctor, this black hatted man go away.
Oh, no shit. Really?
And you woke, and did you wake up at that point?
I don't remember. That's
okay.
I don't remember if I actually woke up and like jumped up, went to the bathroom. At that point, I believe I laid in bed so scared that I didn't move. I was afraid for my life, like virtually paled out, in shock, afraid for my life.
Oh man. So what was going on in your life around this time that made this thing appear?
Just a lot of the early stuff with Madison Rising and being away from my family and dedicating a lot of time to being in New York. I was spending a lot of time in New York City.
You weren't didn't like going to see like an Amish dentist or anything?
No, that's funny. I don't think they have dentists in Amish land, but yeah.
Any drugs or anything?
No.
Alcohol?
No, nothing. No, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, occasional drinker. So it was like one of those deals, but nothing. I was a beer drinker guy. But yeah, I mean, I don't partake in any alcohol anymore. That's just the old, an old me type thing. I just gave that up. So
we have a few questions in the chat. Before I ask them, because we're on the subject of the darkness, I want to ask. When you talk about the darkness, what about the darkness pertaining to like the military guys or military experience?
I think that's just one of those things. I think every person who goes sort of as far down the rabbit hole, whether it's with prescription medications, alcohol, or abuse, or whatever, if you're willing to really, really push any envelope, you have to be prepared for that envelope to sort of gravitate you in and pull you in farther. And I think that's kind of where, as far as my post-surgical stuff, that's kind of where I was. You know what I mean? I was like, it was for weeks that I was taking medications I didn't need, and I had way too many, oxycodone or whatever, Oxycontin or whatever.
Okay.
And I was drinking because of the surgery. And then my wife was just like, you know what, you're done with those. And it was like time to flush it all, because I was gonna end up on the couch.
Okay, so does that happen often with military personnel? Where, I mean, did they get involved with like pharmaceuticals?
Well, I think the VA is a huge proponent of those pharmaceuticals. Yeah. There are guys that I've just spoke to this weekend. I just did a camp just a couple weeks ago with a group of veterans that were combat guys, and they gave me a list. They're like, I was on this, and this. I would go to this VA doctor. He didn't know about the prescriptions I was already getting for something else. Mm-hmm. So they were on psychotropic, psychoactive, plus they were on pain, plus they were on, uppers, downers, inners, outers, whatever. And then plus guys would, have an occasional drink, and that would just continue down the road. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the VA is a huge proponent of these pharmaceutical companies, and giving these drugs to these guys, number one. And a lot of these guys are turning to like medical marijuana to say, hey, listen, I don't want to be on any of that shit anymore. I don't want to be on those drugs anymore. I don't want to wake up feeling like I'm not sure if I'm alive or dead right now. So like these guys with medical, and when somebody tells me they put down 9 different medications and now they smoke weed 3 times a day, I'm like, thank God for you, dude.
That's a good trade.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That at least lets me know that they're not, they've found a way to find light in their lives.
I mean, it's definitely a safer trade for sure, because I mean, the pharmaceutical crap can kill you. I mean, God, man.
Yeah. I mean, you make you get one mistake with that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. But now here's the counterbalance to that. Then there's the people who are abusive, right? So the ones that are out blazing in public, and like everywhere I go, I got to smell some guy who just left his car and sat and blazed in his car. That's the kind of stuff that gives the reputation of CBD and that kind of stuff, I feel, a bad name.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be those that get stoned all the time. They wake and bake and just stay on their couch all day. It's like, come on,
but
do something with your life. But they're not.
People wake up and have a drink too.
Yeah, I might have done it this
I
weekend.
mean, we've come a long way as a society in stigmatizing drinking and driving, but 40 years ago it was kind of laughed at,
Right.
And it probably is going to take some time to work around to that same kind of thing, because driving under the influence of weed is just as bad.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just, like I said, I just know for a fact. I just feel like being around kids in either situation, alcohol or drugs, is just wrong. You know what I mean? I don't think that that's a great combination for kids ever. So yeah, I mean that's my biggest thing is when I see, like, I'm a proponent for that guy who is an adult. He did 8 years in freaking in Iraq and Afghanistan. Came back, is missing a leg or whatever. Absolutely 100%. For a fact. He's seen and done his fair share of freedom's work, and then he comes home and that's his coping mechanism. I would rather see that guy again use something that is natural and that gets him off the pharmaceutical crap. That's about as far as I go. When I see it out in public and I see people using it out in public, again, that's just a blatant disregard for those who really need it, I always think.
I get you there. Now, we have a few questions in the chat, like I said before. Chris was asking, do you think the Second Amendment will change after this weekend? All right. What do you think? No, I don't think it'll change either. It's pretty much embedded in the Constitution.
It's too big.
There'd be a civil war for that.
First of all, that would be, if you wanted to change the Second Amendment, it would take 10 years.
No,
which is not. It's just not an argument for. If
the Second Amendment falls, the country falls, and everybody that is an adult understands that. And
yeah.
Believe me, again, just like the gun guys that are out there slinging an AK-47 over their shoulder to go to Walmart, it's the same as the 17, 18-year-old kid who's blowing weed smoke in my kid's face while I'm trying to walk into Walmart. There's no difference in being an adult about your rights and your privileges and the laws, and being an idiot about your rights and the privileges and your laws in this country. This country is a great place if you use common sense. If you believe that because you are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that we have to give you that life, we have to provide you that extra time away from work, and your happiness is a pill that comes from a pharmaceutical company because you say you got it back. There's a misinterpretation of the Constitution when it comes down to those things. Well, you owe me this. You owe me that, and pursuit of happiness. I'm not happy, so make me happy.
And my problem with
pursuit, there's pursuit, not guarantee.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. And my problem with this is that the question changes the subject. When I understand where it's coming from, usually when people ask this, they're talking about how can we prevent another one of these shootings and what have you. But it's like, okay, well, because when these things happen, two things start being talked about, right? Mental health or gun rights. Okay. Well, but then you think about the people who did these shootings. Was it a mental health thing, or was it like a planned thing? Was it something that they were going to do because of some sort of ideology or their belief or what have you? And that's what we're talking about now. That's what's happening now. So taking away
anybody that truly believes that taking a gun away from someone or everyone is going to make everybody say, "Oh, we're giving up our guns." You tell that to every MS-13 guy. You tell that to every mafioso, Rango.
They're not going to give it up. We have so many guns in this country. We have more guns than people. It's the sea of guns. The people
that are going to go on a rampage are going to go on a rampage. The best thing you can do, if you are one of those people that's like, well, I'm scared for my life to go out. Well, so am I. Man. So here's what I do. I have 2 weapons on me at all times. If I'm going into that Walmart and I got to pass that pothead, and I got to pass the guy with the AK-47, I'm going to have my pieces on me as well. Okay? So I'm just not going to be a target. There's a difference.
Yeah. Could you imagine what it would be like if, and hypothetically, if for some reason the U.S. government was like, okay, all guns are illegal, and we're gonna tell the police, law enforcement, to go out there, roll up to every house, get all the guns. They're gonna have like the Judge Dredd program, because they're gonna need that. They're gonna have to, because it's the only way that would go down. I mean,
listen,
well, this has been
I heard a statistic.
The gun owners' angst against any type of registration or any type of knowledge of whom, what, when, where, and how has a gun is because of that. Because they can say, well, it says here that you're registered for 15 guns, and be like, well, I don't have 15 guns. I sold 9 of those guns. They're going to be like, do you have a sales receipt? I'm like, nope, because I live in Pennsylvania. I can sell a long gun to whomever I wish. So that is going to debunk every time anybody knocks on your door and wants to take your long guns. Now, your pistols, that's a different story. You can't sell a pistol in Pennsylvania or some of these states. You can't sell without having a crossover and a true, basically a title displacement transfer to go along with it. So that is illegal. So if you don't have pistols that you have registered and you haven't made mention to law enforcement, then you could be held accountable for the whereabouts of that pistol. So that is an issue. But are they ever going to get rid of the Second Amendment? No. You have to, like I said, you have to burn the Constitution and rip down this country before that's going to happen. And it's again, everybody thinks that even if you got that accomplished, even if you said, okay, we're ripping up the Constitution and we're getting rid of the Second Amendment, the long-term fallout of that situation is so underplayed to even think about. That is something that no legislation or law enforcement bureaucrat can think of what that is even going to play out as and how that's going to be. It's not a bunch of people are not going to grab their guns and go marching in the streets and circle up. That's not going to happen. But you are going to see a huge uprising of people that are going to go to their legislators and remove them very rapidly.
Yeah.
Maybe on rails.
Maybe. A few other questions, and a lot of these are kind of military related. It looks like, or it looks a little more. Well,
can we roll? There was one earlier that.
Oh yeah.
And maybe that. Let's. I
apologize. I feel like I'm not dark enough. We could talk about like Marilyn Manson or something.
No. You're fine. You're fine.
I hope you're getting some watchers or some listeners out there.
Oh, we are. Well, we definitely are. They're very interested in this.
We always get Jesse. Well, we don't always get Jesse's mom, but sometimes we get Jesse's mom.
Maybe for this one, because you're very patriotic.
Yeah,
she likes that. She likes that stuff.
So CD asked a question. It's kind of a change of gears, going back to your music. Says, what sort of things inspire you to make music?
I think it's creating, just period. Creation in general. And sometimes it's a subject, sometimes it's an emotion, sometimes it's, sitting back and just, for whatever reason. Okay, so I'll give you an idea. All right. So I'm sitting there and I'm trimming my hedges yesterday. Okay. Trimming my hedges.
Trimming hedges.
And for whatever daggone.
Is that a metaphor?
No. For whatever reason. I got the headphones on. And I'm out there. Listen, I got like 50 hedges I got to trim. It's a pain in the butt every year. So I got to do it like 3 times a year. So anyway, I'm out there and I'm scraping up my hedges and I'm cleaning up. And for whatever reason, the words "I woke up last night outside of the Alamo" come to my head. Right.
Okay.
So I'm singing. So as I'm trimming hedges with my cowboy hat on and my earplugs on and my hedge trimmer, I'm singing, "Woke up last night outside of the Alamo, didn't remember getting in a fight, but them old boys from Pennsylvania, tested up on my Lone Star pride." And that's how I got through trimming the hedges for 3 hours. Okay. So all right. So put that in perspective. That was me trimming hedges yesterday. I haven't written that down, but I haven't even thought about it since yesterday I was trimming hedges. But that daggone hook, "I woke up last night outside of the Alamo," will stick with you for days, man. And I think that's part of it. You got
to get a line in there about trimming hedges, though.
It's catchy.
You whistle while you work. And I think I do a lot of work with my hands. I print all my own T-shirts. So a lot monotonous. I find myself in these sort of monotonous states where I got to print a sleeve, 2 sleeves, a front and a back on 200 T-shirts. That's a lot. That's 800 prints and that takes a long time to do, and it's monotonous as all get out, but it allows me to sort of meditate on my music and go to another place and just sort of, wake up outside of the Alamo, I guess.
Man, that's pretty cool.
So